A Singapore flag container ship that caught fire 78 nautical miles away from Baipur on the Kerala coast is threatening to trigger an environmental disaster. The Coast Guard has clarified that the ship was carrying hazardous materials including flammable liquids, solids and toxic substances.
According to the information, 18 crew were saved and 4 are missing. Yesterday night around 22:50, that is 10:50 p.m., Indian naval vessels INS Surat entered New Mangalore port with the survival, including the casualties. I mean casualties, those who are severely injured. So the district administration of New Mangalore was ready to accept the survivals. And according to the information, 25 containers were fallen overboard, and around 153 containers are belonging to dangerous goods.
Not just this, oil spillage from ship could drift parallel to the coastline till June 13. The two ship accidents off the coast of Kerala within 2 weeks have raised questions about the maritime safety in the region. On May 24th, a cargo ship sank in the Arabian Sea, 38 nautical miles off the coast of Kochi. The incident resulted in many containers falling into the sea with materials including plastic, washing ashore and causing significant ecological concerns. And now, another accident has taken place. On June 9th, a Singapore flag container ship caught fire near Izekal. A vessel asked to maintain a safe distance from the burning ship due to risk of further explosion is something which we are doing. Its containers have hazardous material. These include resin, solutions, solid, inflammable liquids, pesticides and other chemicals. Now let me straight away go to my guest, Joseph Hoover, environmental activist and Captain Naveen Singhal, marine consultant. Let me straight away go to Mr. Singhal first. Sir, 2 accidents in a span of fortnight. Both of them have the potential to become big ecological disasters. Is there an Indian learning here, sir?
Karthikeyan, thanks a lot for inviting me once again to your channel, and good to see you. Well, it's just a coincidence that they have happened, back to back. So they are maritime related, and these could be due to maritime lapses. So I mean, we shouldn't link it with anything other than maritime failure. So it could be the failure on the side of the shipper at the time of stuffing. It could be a failure at the time of carriage. That means the stowage may not have been done properly. It could be a failure that the stowage of the cargo within the containers has not been adequately lashed. So there are a lot of these issues there. So I see it as purely as a negligence on the maritime side. So the maritime side can start right from the time when the cargo is shipped into the containers, and then it's handed over to the carrier, which is the Van High shipping company. So they then load the cargo based on the manifest, whatever is there, and they're supposed to segregate it as per the United Nations IMDG code. And if there's any flaw in that segregation, which means if they haven't followed that segregation, so that's a maritime negligence. In case they have, in case the stowage within the container has not been adequately lashed, then that's a problem with the shore, that is the stuffing, wherever this container was stuffed. So there are these type of things, because if a container has been stacked with cargo and it's not been adequately lashed, it's monsoon period, and the ship is coming from Port Klang right up to Colombo, and Colombo to to Navasheva. So all that passage, particularly the passage from Colombo to the Indian coast, that 200 nautical miles, the at this particular time of the year, there's a beam swell, and that beam swell hits the ship. The ship is going to be severely rolling.
Is there any way, sir? Is there any way to salvage this ship? Is there a technology available within India to salvage such ships? Ensure it it doesn't sink, because the previous one has sunk.
Yeah,
and it's a sitting disaster.
Yeah. So there was another ship, Express Pearl. This was a Singapore-owned company, and this ship left Jebel Ali in Dubai, and this was bound also for Colombo, but it wanted refuge in this port of Mundra. They wanted refuge because they are having some problems with the chemicals there. But Mundra refused because they said you have chemical hazards. So this ship eventually sank off Colombo. Also, with similar reasons, they were carrying chemical cargo. So in the case of salvaging, no, Kartike, you can't salvage this type of a fire, because it's phenomenal. The explosions are continuous, and I don't see that the ship is going to remain afloat for long, because the amount of explosions because you have to remember, the ships are not built for explosions. They are built to, let's say, to take the pounding and the panting of the high seas. But you can't, the explosion means within the cargo hold, something has to come out, because there's an explosion. So there is volume and there's gas and there's pressure to come out. So that's going to rupture. It's going to put stress on the bulkheads and onto the hull. So and the ship is already listed, I think, about 15 to 18 degrees. So I don't think it'll be like an absolute sheer luck if the ship does remain afloat and if the fire is extinguished.
Okay, I'm also joined by Joseph Hoover, environmental activist. Sir, I mean, so the earlier ship has sunk. There is no clarity whether the oil has leaked from the boilers or not. What's your assessment of this ship, sir?
I mean, it's pretty disastrous that both the incidents have happened on the coast of Kerala coast. And from what we learned from the first incident, the ship sinking, not much come out from there. Though our activists are on field asking for questions and showing evidence that these types of disasters have happened, the flora and fauna of the ocean system has been devastated, but no answers are forthcoming. So even in this case, after the ship sinks, as Captain Singhal says, it's bound to sink, and we're definitely not going to hear about it. Our concern right now is what will happen. Already people are suffering there. We know that the dolphins died in the first incident. We know affected all our fisheries out there. People suffered, and the ecology of the ocean also suffered. Now, our concern is, this has happened the second time. It's unfortunate Kerala has to bear the brunt. God's own country is now going through a lot of struggles. But here the question comes. These hazardous chemicals or whatever these liquids are being brought in, isn't there any way to stop these? Isn't each country capable of producing their own produce? I mean, they bring in from somewhere, they're taking it somewhere else, it sinks here, and then there's complete chaos. The ocean ecology is destroyed. People living around the coast are suffering. It's going to have huge impact on the health. So our concern now is, isn't there a way that the UN could get involved and say these kind of chemicals and toxic contingents should be avoided in certain regions? They need to do this, because if this continues, we have seen this over a period of time of shipwrecks and oil spills and all this stuff. They talk about technology. We do have technology to handle oil spills. Do we have the technology for such disasters?
Okay, let me ask you one
right now.
In 2010, the oil drilling rig Deepwater Horizon, operating in the Gulf of America, Gulf of Mexico, yes. Gulf of America, Mexico, exploded and sank. They tried cleaning it. Can we do something like that here? Yeah, I'll come to you, sir. Joseph.
Yeah, I mean, it's bound to. I mean, if you look at what our people from the ground level have been talking to us from the coast, they're saying this has happened once, it has happened the second time, and we are not prepared for it. But are we technologically prepared to handle this scenario? No. Has the government got any standard operation procedure in place? No. But hats off to the Navy, Indian Navy, and to the Indian Coast Guard. They've done a reasonably good job, at least seeing that not much damage. They're going to get rid of the floating cargo there. But here, what our people on ground are saying is, on the beach, they're saying a lot of things change. And this is not just an oil spill. This is toxic chemicals coming in. It's impacting everything. Over a period of time, it's going to definitely impact our health. And why only the Kerala people are suffering this is the question coming in from there. Is there a way of addressing this issue? Is there a way of, controlling it? No, they're worried. At this point in time, the fishermen whose livelihood has already been impacted because of the monsoon, because they can't go fishing, they are worried.
Okay, Captain Singhal, my question remains the same. Deepwater Horizon, there was a counter cleanup operation. If there is a spill, why can't we replicate that in India?
No. So Deepwater Horizon, it took them 3 months. That's Americans. Americans have the best technology. It took them 3 months to plug the leak. For 3 months, oil was just leaking. Imagine you keep a pipe of something like 4 inches, and oil leaking out there for 3 months. So they had such a massive spill that it lasted for
the pressure they couldn't.
months.
It was because of the pressure, sir. It was the issue of pressure that they couldn't control.
It was because pressure, but more important, it was roughly about 7,000 feet deep. So they didn't have the technology to go down there and do that. So eventually, when they did that, so it took them a long time to do that. So there was a massive spill, and the claims the oil company is paying is over 60 billion. So that's one thing. But coming back to So Deepwater Horizon, where you have a country where the best technology and they couldn't manage it. So as far as this is concerned, I think when Mr. Joseph is saying about the environmental damage, and he also mentioned about why can't countries manufacture their own hazardous chemicals? Well, let me just tell you that, this is for a container carrier, hazardous cargo, they carry about 10 to 15% of hazardous containers every time, because that's good money for them. Because when you carry hazardous cargo, you have to do segregation. You have to leave certain slots empty. It's like when you have an air ambulance, so you have to give away about 6, 7 seats, 8 seats. So you pay for that. So similarly, when you carry, this hazardous containers, you have to keep certain slots empty. And so that money is taken by the carrier, from the shipper. So it's a foregone conclusion that hazardous cargo today is about 5,500 container ships as we talk. Of that, about 1,300, 1,500 will be in ports. The remaining about 3,500, 4,000 are sailing, and all of them have hazardous cargo, 15-20%. So, well, this incident is because of maybe storage. It could be due to, I just told you example, it could be storage, it could be due to lashing, it could be due to various other technical reasons. And I don't think there's anything else behind that.
But right now, is there any way to, do we have the technology, do we possess the technology to salvage the current situation in context of pollution?
Pollution, yes, now, because this ship is what I can see, I understand.
Like I recall, so it's like 14 years ago, I recall they used some sort of a detergent or some sort of a foam post Deepwater Horizon disaster.
So let me just explain to you. Express Pearl sank off Colombo. It's about maybe 30-40 miles off Colombo, and it was carrying chemicals. Now we have to understand one more thing. There are ocean currents. Now ocean currents in this particular time of the year, they're going to move in an anti-clockwise direction. So if suppose, hypothetically, if you just leave a football off Cochin, it's going to go all the way up to the Gulf and come back to the Africa and come back down. So it's moving in a anti-clockwise direction at this particular time of the year. So all this, whatever is the residue, it's not going to remain at a place. The ocean currents are going to carry that. And if this vessel will eventually goes down, it might be somewhere in the 1,000-meter, depth. The contour, I think it's around 1,000 meters, the information that I have. So it's going to be like, I'm not saying that there will not be an environmental damage, but it's not, we've had Express Pearl. So Express Pearl is just adjoining Kerala. It's just near Colombo. So there must have been some damage, but after some time, the ocean currents carry this away, and it mixes up with the entire ocean out there. It's like, you take a bottle of wine and pour it in the ocean, you can't find it, So it's something like that.
Thank you. I think you made a very solid point. It's easier said than done. It's a very tough situation for the people in the coastal communities. I think it's very, very tragic that the poor people, the fishermen who depend on the sea, they will suffer the most. Thank you, sir. This was my third on point, and on this note, I close my show. I will see you tomorrow at the same time. Thank you once again, and good night.
Dark, Scorpio and Carbon is here. the big daddy of SUVs.
Is this politics of appeasement?
That is the ground reality.
The violence continued unabated for the next 24 hours. Why is there Mamta for Pahalgam but not for Murshidabad?